Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the sky you see, beyond the stars, beyond the limits of your imagination? Have you ever asked yourself, who am I truly? What is this life that breathes within you, that pulsates in every corner of existence? What is the source of this infinite dance of creation? The rivers, the mountains, the sun, the moon, and you. And more profoundly, have you ever questioned, where is God in all of this? Can you see Him? Can you touch Him and know Him as something tangible, something separate from yourself? Is God a distant figure sitting somewhere in the clouds, watching over us? Or is God closer, so close that you cannot even distinguish Him from yourself? Could it be that God is not an object to be found, but a state of being that you already are, waiting to be realized? This is the great mystery, dear seekers. This is the great paradox of life. You cannot see God. Yes, you cannot see God, but you can be God. Yes, you cannot see God, but you can be God. And that is where our journey begins today. Dear seekers, this world, this universe, this great existence that surrounds us, it holds within it infinite mysteries, depths that cannot be fathomed, and a vastness that the human mind cannot grasp. Yet, man is always seeking, searching, inquiring, where is God? But this very question, where is God, is the beginning of a great misunderstanding. This search itself assumes that God is an object to be seen, something to be found, like a flower blooming in a hidden corner of the universe or a star shining in some distant galaxy. This is where we go astray. Let me tell you, you cannot see God because God is not separate from you. You cannot see God, but you can be God. This statement has a depth that can only be understood by diving into the very center of your being. The Upanishads, the ancient texts of wisdom, speak of the great secret, Tattvamasi, that thou art. What does it mean? It means the divine that you seek outside is the very essence of who you are. God is not an object, a distant figure, or an external force. God is the core of your own existence. God is the core of your own being. Now, let me tell you a story about Buddha, the awakened one. A man came to Buddha, frustrated and lost. He had spent years searching for God, wandering from one temple to another, one master to another, but he found nothing. Master, he said, I have searched for God all my life, but he remains hidden. Why is he so elusive? Buddha smiled and handed him a mirror. Look into this, he said. The man was perplexed, but he obeyed. As he looked at his reflection, Buddha spoke again. What do you see? I see myself, the man replied. That is the answer, Buddha said softly. You are looking for God as though He is outside of you. But the one you see in this mirror, that is the divine. You have been looking in the wrong direction. This story points to the heart of all spiritual inquiry. Buddha was not merely giving a clever response, He was revealing the ultimate truth that you cannot find God outside because God is already within you. Dear seekers, what prevents us from realizing this truth? It is the illusion of separation. Since childhood, we have been taught that God is somewhere in the sky, high above us, beyond our reach. We imagine God as a king sitting on a throne or a figure of immense power and judgment. But this is the limitation of the human mind. We project our worldly understanding of power, authority, and separation onto the divine. But the truth, as the Bhagavad Gita says, is that God dwells in the heart of all beings. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddeshe Arjuna tisthati. That's what Krishna said to Arjuna, that God is not out there. God is in here. Yet we go on seeking because we are afraid to look within. We are afraid because to find God within is to lose the small self, the ego that we have carried for so long. And the ego does not want to die. The great saint Ramana Maharshi once said, God, Guru, and the Self are one and the same. But how can they be one? We see them as different because we see the world through the eyes of duality. We live in the illusion of separateness. I am here, God is there. But this is the mind's game. It is like the wave thinking it is separate from the ocean. The wave says, where is the ocean? I must search for it. But the truth is, the wave is not separate from the ocean. The wave is the ocean. In the same way, you are not separate from God. You are a wave in the vast ocean of divine consciousness. The mystics have always known this. They speak of a direct experience of God, not as something seen with the eyes, but as something known through being. Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic, said, the eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. What does this mean? It means that the separation between the seer and the seen dissolves. You and God are not two. You are one. The Sufi mystic Mansur al-Hallaj declared, Analak, I am the truth. For this he was crucified, just as Jesus was. But their declarations came from the same place. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. And this is not a metaphor. This is a statement of the deepest truth. The kingdom of God is not something to be attained after death, in some far off heaven. It is here, it is now, within you, if only you have the eyes to see. And what are those eyes? They are the eyes of awareness, the eyes that look inward rather than outward. The real journey, dear seekers, is not outward, but inward. It is a journey from the mind to the heart. The mind always seeks outside, but the heart knows that the treasure lies within. Kabir, the great poet saint, sang, the fish in the water is thirsty, and it searches for water all around. How foolish, how tragic that we, who are immersed in God, who are made of divine consciousness, go on searching for God as if He is something distant. It is as if a person standing in the full light of the sun closes their eyes and says, I am looking for the sun. The moment you open your eyes, you realize the sun was always there. The problem was not the absence of the sun, but the closing of your own eyes. In the same way, God is always here, always present. It is we who have closed our eyes. Let me share another story, one from the Astavakra Gita. King Janaka, a great seeker of truth, once asked the sage Astavakra, "How can I realize the self?" Astavakra responded, "You are already the self. You are the witness of everything, and the moment you stop identifying with the body and mind, you will know yourself as the eternal, pure consciousness." Janaka, in that very moment, realized the truth. He exclaimed, "Oh, I am the boundless ocean of consciousness. The body and mind are just ripples on the surface." This is the realization we are all seeking, whether we know it or not. This is the realization that you are God, not as an ego, not as a personality, but as the divine consciousness that underlies all existence. But how do we come to this realization? The path is through surrender. And surrender does not mean giving up, it means giving in. Giving in to the truth of who you are. When you surrender the idea that you are separate, that you are a small, limited being, the divine floods in. In that moment, you are no longer searching for God. You are resting in God as God. The Zen master Hakuin once said, "At the beginning of the journey, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. As you progress on the path, the mountains are no longer mountains and rivers are no longer rivers. But when you reach the end of the journey, mountains are once again mountains and rivers are once again rivers." What he means is that at the highest level of realization, nothing changes in the external world, but your perception changes. You realize that everything is divine: the mountains, the rivers, the sky, the stars, and you yourself. In the end, dear seekers, the truth cannot be spoken. It can only be lived. The words are only pointers. The scriptures are only maps. You have to make the journey yourself. And what is that journey? It is a journey inward. It is a journey to the heart of your own being, where God is waiting, not as something separate, but as your very own self. You cannot see God because God is not an object, but you can be God because God is your true nature. Be silent, be still, and know that you are God.